How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to chaoschild. I almost said chaos head again. Alright, so we're getting back into the rhythm of things. We're finally figuring out about D-swords, Maniacs. We've seen the D-sword now. Arasawa had one, and it was really pretty, actually. It looked really nice. And I guess now that we're kind of like in this know, we don't have to learn as much as we did in Chaos Head because this group obviously understands it. Again, I'm wondering if we're going to see connections from the original crew. I don't know. I feel like we would have by now, though, so it's kind of odd that we haven't. Anyway, investigation is continuing on, and we're going to see what we can come up with. And yeah, Taku's power seems to be psychokinesis, moving stuff around with his mind. Pretty cool. I feel like it's one of those things where, like, this story does a great job, will do a great job, and the other stories have done a great job of, like, man, like, there's part of me that's like, man, being a Giggle-maniac sounds like it'd be really crazy fun. But then there's also all the baggage that comes along with it that would probably just utterly terrible. Anyway, there's not really much else to say, so let's jump right in. Can't believe there was something like that in the basement of Tokyo General Hospital, though. Shinjo Takeshi frowned as he leaned back into his sofa inside a messy office. The Frieza Credit Bureau was located on the second floor of an old multi-purpose building in Sakuragaoka. At this hour, the 20 or so desks in the room were mostly empty, but that didn't mean that things weren't busy. Research agencies like Frieza did a lot of their work outside the office. It was precisely because they were busy that there was no one here. 3 people were having a serious discussion inside the empty office.
まあ、新庄ちゃんが疑いたくなる気持ちはわかるけど。
Momo said, I wonder, I want to know more about what she's been up to this whole time. In front of him was the CEO of Frieza, Momose Katsuko.
お前なんかに嘘をついて何の得がある?
Kurosato Mio was sitting further away from him, not even bothering to conceal her displeasure. It was clear she had no intention of being friendly with him.
もちろん信じないと言ってるわけじゃない。あの病院にいろいろ妙な噂があることだって知っている。それにこうして生きた証人もいることだし。
Yeah, we do. Look at the girl. Shinjo looked at the other person on the sofa. Here she is. It was a tiny girl.
あの子が本当に施設で被害者たちの世話を?
ああ、そうだ。
今彼女から事情は聞けそうかな?
やってみてもいいが、失望するだけかもしれないぞ。
Yeah, I get the feeling that she won't be cooperative. I don't think she's malicious. If anything, she seems to be sympathetic. But for some reason, she's kind of on board with the stuff at the hospital, which is odd. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but why?
え? それがね。
私、
Aww.
帰ります。
Aww.
お願いします。私、帰ります。あそこに返してください。お願いします。
Why is she so like? She's not even like resisting. It seems like, but why?
ずっとこの調子。帰りたいの一点張り。何を聞いたってろくに話してくれやしない。
百瀬さんが苦戦するのは珍しいな。
Shinjo stood up and dragged an office chair over to the sofa the girl was sitting on. Alright. She just looks so sad. But then, like, it's weird because she's reminding me... She kind of reminds me of, like, Moeka and, was it Yui? Because it's Yui and Mia from Chaos Head. The twin slash... Not twins. Man, I've been seeing a lot of media and visual novels lately involving twins and terrible things. Interesting. But she kind of reminds me of those two put together. He sat down as slowly as he could so as not to scare her and looked her in the eye level.
山添浮君?
How did we get her name? Gosh, she just looks depressed. He tried to speak as softly as he could, but she still shivered at his voice.
怖がらなくていい。 僕は、おまわりさんだ。
おまわりさん。
そうだ。だから、安心していい。
Yeah, sure.
おまわりさんなら、助けてください。
もちろんだと思う。だから教えてほしいんだ。君を真っ暗な地下室に閉じ込めたのは誰？
私、あの人にさらわれてきたんです。だから、助けてください。元の場所へ返してください。
Yamazawa Uki looked at Kunasato for just an instant, and then looked back at Shinjo, begging.
これで私も立派な誘拐犯だな。逮捕してみるか？
Huh.
チャチャを入れないでくれ。なあ、ウキ君。何か勘違いしているようだけど、君は地下でひどいことをさせられてたんだ。だからこうして助け出されたんだよ。
ひどいことなんて何もありません。私はただ、皆さんのお世話をしていただけです。それが私の仕事です。
Okay, but who gave you that job?
だから、戻らないといけないんです。私がいないと、皆さんが困ってしまいます。
There's an angle here they could do. Is like now they've got like if she can get them back in, why not take an entire police detachment there? Let them see what that place is. Make sure it gets seen. That feels like, I mean, there's downsides to it doing that, but at the very least, it stops being this obscure, like, woo, mystery case, or at least somewhat. It gives some teeth to these claims that he's pursuing and these leads he's got. I don't know. I'd like to think that that would produce some kind of results, or at least allow his investigation to proceed. But then the downside being that we don't know what powers that be are still at work right now, and they may have enough influence to still keep it hush-hush. You know, grease the right palms to make sure that this uncomfortableness goes away. That explained why even a veteran like Momo-chan was having trouble. Shinjo looked at the two and shrugged.
参りましたね。
でしょ？
聞いた限りだと、地下の環境はかなり劣悪ですよね。普通女の子がそんなところに帰りたいって思うもんですかね。
Again, I feel like that's beside the point, because she's useless as a potential witness or a, or somebody who could help give you information if she's not willing to share information and doesn't feel like she's been wronged by being where she was. In fact, she actually feels like she's been kidnapped. So she wants to resist what's happening now. Now, the downside is, though, you have to wonder about like mental capacity, and then you also have to worry about things like Stockholm syndrome, or something along those lines.
私ならごめんこむるわね。まあ、うちも仕事内容の劣悪さじゃ負けてないと思うけど。
Momosa chuckled.
そいつの頭皮を見てみたが、ロボトミーや電気ショックの痕跡はない。ちゃんと脳の検査をしないと断定はできないが、多分、長年の軟禁生活で、自分の境遇に疑問を抱かなくなってしまったんだろう。
I mean, maybe. But, I don't know, you're making lots of assumptions, and that's dangerous.
虐待されてる子供と同じか。
ああ。
どうしたもんかな。
Shinjo looked back at the girl, who now seemed as if she was about to cry, and started to scratch his head. As of now, the police had no reason to make a move on AH Tokyo General Hospital. None of the evidence he'd gathered had been acquired by legal means. Okay, I guess that is the problem. I mean, I still feel like you could work it out where, like, you could give her a police escort and just ask her to lead you back to where she lives, have her help you down the stairs into the basement, and then you've been essentially let in by somebody who lives there, and it's still very questionable in the far as the legal sense goes, but the hospital itself, especially if you like ask the staff at the hospital, say, do we have permission to search the premises? You get a general yes, then even if they didn't intend for you to go into the basement, it still is they're given the free and clear search agreement. He'd hoped that Yamazako Uchi's testimony would allow her to function as a whistleblower, but that was looking unlikely.
あ、そうだ。ウキ君、この少年を知ってるね。
Shinjo took out a smartphone out of his pocket. It was the one he'd borrowed from the younger officers. He picked out Mayashiro Takaru's photo from the ones he'd taken out of the people involved in the Hekiko Academy photo shoot.
彼のスマートフォンを君は拾ったはずだ。彼がそう証言してる。
It's amazing that he actually is asking about that. I kind of thought that they were going to just ignore his phone.
その人なら何回か会いました。でも、そのスマートフォンって一体何ですか?
Okay, A doesn't know his smartphone. He's met him several times. When? I think he's seen you once. When else have you seen him?
は? 何?
その子ね、最近のものは何も知らないわよ。
Shinjo thought for a moment, then pointed to his own phone.
これがスマホだ。これと似たようなものを彼が落として君が拾った。覚えてないかな?
She stared at the phone in his hands, then nodded softly.
やっぱりそうか。で、それをどうした?
落ちていた場所にすぐに戻しました。
Back where it was?
戻した? 君が持って行ったんじゃなくて?
持ってなんていきません。なんだかわからないものは怖いです。
Okay.
でも、宮代くんによれば、そのスマホから電話がかかってきたって言うんだ。君がやったんじゃないのか?
Yeah, that's weird. That means somebody else picked it up from the hospital.
スマホというのは、そうやって写真を見る機会じゃないんですか? 電話もかけられるんですか?
Momose giggled a little. Shinjo glared at her, then turned the phone around and brought up a number from the address book. He tapped the number. The phone rang for a moment, then an extremely irritated voice answered.
はい。もしもし、有村ですけど。
She's like, stop bothering me about things.
ほら、こうやって電話ができるんだよ。な?
She'd be like, wait a minute, you used me to just show how a phone works? Shinjo turned the volume up so Yamazoe Uki could hear it. But she didn't seem to care.
そうですか。
Oh, though this could be a clever way to get her to speak so that Arimura can determine if she's lying about anything.
もしもし、一体何なんです？用がないなら切りますよ。私これからランチなんで。
いや、用ならあるんだ。しかも大事な用が。悪いんだけど、ちょっと力を貸して。
お断りします。
即答はないだろ
う。ねえ、新庄さん。私ってあなたの恋人かなんかですか?
Oh my gosh.
何かっていうとすぐに電話してきて。いやらしい。
I mean, I feel like you're taking it up several notches.
いや、待て。別にそういうつもりじゃ。
なら、ストーカーってことでいいですね。
よくない。困ってるんだ。助けてくれよ。
うわ、出た。女の敵の決まり文句。それでお小遣いをせびったり、お金のために変なバイトをさせたりするんですよね。最低のダメ人間。
This comes up in multiple times in stories. Is this a common thing in Japan?
真面目に聞いてくれよ。大切な話なんだ。頼む。
Shinjo finally managed to quiet her down, then told her about AH Tokyo General Hospital and Yamazoe Uki. And then he asked Uki a few more detailed questions, this time so Arimura could hear her responses. And as a result...
どうだ、有村さん。
Yeah.
全部白ですよ。真っ白。その子、嘘は一つもついてません。
Wow.
あと、今回の一連の事件についても、本当に何にも知らないですね。その子が犯人と関係あるとか思ってます？だったら空振りもいいとこですよ。
そっか。
Shinjo's shoulders slumped when he heard that. He saw that Kunosato's did as well. She'd probably thought that they could learn a lot from what they wanted to know from Yamazoe Uki. Kunasato frowned and looked up at the ceiling.
有村さん、助かった。ありがとう。今度なんかご馳走するよ。
You see, now that does sound creepy.
はあ？それってもしかしてデートに誘ってるつもりですか？だったら絶対に嫌なんですけど。
Good girl.
未成年をデートになんて誘ったら警察クビだよ。じゃ、またな。
またって、もうこういうのやめてくださいよ。何度言ったらわかるんです。
Click. He ended the call before Arimura could say anything else, and finally, the room fell quiet. But now what do you do? You've technically kidnapped a girl. Another creepy thing. No one spoke for a while. The only sound was Yamazoe Uki mumbling, "I want to go home," as she stared at her feet.
まあ、その子に関しては、もう少しうちで預かることにするわ。って言っても、食事と寝る場所の提供くらいで、大したことはできなさそうだけど。
Momose stood up and rolled her tired neck. There was an unhealthy popping sound. Oh. Uh-oh. If that's an unhealthy thing, then I'm in trouble.
それでも十分助かります。
あっちの方は、一からやり直しか。
一からってことはないさ。地下施設の本格的な操作ができないか、手を考えてみる。
なんとかなるの？正式な手続きを踏んだところで、またどこかから圧力がかかるわよ。
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, there is somebody clearly putting pressure on this. It's just how strong is their reach.
でしょうね。
でしょうねってあんた。
ま、そこら辺は適当に口実をでっち上げます。ダメならダメで、やりようはあると思うんで。
Okay.
それに、お天道様の元にさらしてしまえば、いくらなんでも無視はできないでしょうからね。
That's fair. Again, like I said, that's kind of like I was thinking would be the next best option, would be just getting an excuse to get several officers down there, capture some footage, release the footage even if you needed to.
なんです？何かおかしなことを言いましたか？
似てきたじゃない？あの人に。
Oh.
そいつは喜んでいいんですかね？
どうかしら。少なくとも、いい死に方はしないわね。
Oh, jeez. Where's my peeps? All right. Newscaster Watabe murdered. Another copy of the New Generation Madness. Popular online journalist Watabe Tomauki was murdered on the afternoon of the 10th of a school in Shibuya. The police have become more convinced the killer's case is the same as the other murders that are patterned after the New Generation Madness 6 years ago. Watabe visited the school to talk to students, coughed up sumo stickers, and died when he went on stage. Watabe's stomach was filled with a large number of the mysterious sumo stickers, and it's believed that these are what choked him. As the sumo stickers are seen everywhere in the streets in Shibuya these days, they seem to think it will be impossible to track down where the killer found them. Watabe had previously pointed out the relationship between sumo stickers and the other mysterious deaths that took place on the 7th, 19th, and 29th of last month. The police are assuming there's a connection there. Dude's morbidly obese. Why would that be your first line? But then the next line, no, he's sumorbidly obese. Sumorbidly obese. In before this viral marketing scheme by the sumo wrestler people. Obviously the kids he was interviewing did it. Sumorbidly obese. Just beating that dead horse. So wait, we're calling this one Sumorbidly obese? If you guys want to see sumo stickers that bad, look in a freaking mirror. There's a huge shadowy conspiracy involved in this. All the victims are people who tried to find out about the conspiracy. The ones behind it are also the ones behind the original New Generation Madness. They're all eliminated the person who designed the sumo stickers. I bet the kids he was going to talk to are in danger too. That's probably true, actually. So what? You're a sumo sticker truther? That's like, that was this 989 that's response to them. And then he's reading between the lines. God have descended, Lamau. Question. Look at your ID, dude. Wait, what? Yeah, what, like, 989? How's that God has descended? Sumorbidly Obese. Sumorbidly Obese. This thread is almost 1,000 posts long. Why do you guys love sumo so much? Sumorbidly Obese. Sumorbidly Obese. This post of 1,000. I'm gonna win the next sumo tournament. You know what? At channel, 4chan, 2chan, whatever they are, they're all weird. Oh, actually, I have to be at the bottom and then click. Okay.
物体を動かす力。いわゆるテレキネシスと呼ばれるもの。それが先輩の力です。
Okay. Bold claim.
僕の力。
I feel like we already had this conversation.
さあ、念じてみてください。動けと、心の中で。
Focus on what?
念じる。
Alright.
心の中で。
Okay. Is there a sword? It's gonna be out of proportion, so it's gotta be coming, if it's gonna be in here, it's gonna be coming in a way that makes, like, no sense, proportionate-wise. Could it be in the map? That'd be kind of a fun place to pull a sword out of, would be that pin map. We spent a lot of time, like, with it around. I could see that. Maybe a big yellow one with a cross guard here at the blue, on the top of the map there. But it feels like too straight of lines. It's gotta be, if it's gonna be like the other time where it's like, it'll be there, and it'll be like, as soon as you see it, it would make so much sense, but it could be real easy to miss. Not yet, but I'm gonna keep my eyes open.
動け。動け。動け。動け、動け、動け、動け、動け、動け、動け、動け。
Gonna start doing a chant.
動けよ
Oh my gosh, it actually worked!
見て、机の上の本が。
Is this a delusion or actually happening? I'm not sure. Holy crap. She looks stunned. That's amazing. I actually like this. This is a great shot.
マジかよ。
Yeah, I'd be like, oh my gosh!
動いた。
驚きました。これは私が思っていた以上の力かもしれません。
I like how she's like, just think about it and try to make it move. And then it moves, and she's like, oh my gosh, you made it move! Oh, now he's out.
宮代拓。君の能力、この目でじっくりと見させてもらった。
Okay, again, is she actually here? This is already feeling very delusion-y, right? Like, maybe this isn't real.
久野里さん。
これからはその能力を使って、
Oh.
私の渋谷ニュースを手伝ってくれないか。
Yep, this is definitely a delusion. Okay, I thought it was fishy at first, but yep. She's looking at him like that, with beautiful music in the background, talking about, like, help me with my news broadcast channel. There's no way.
僕が渋谷ニュースを。
I get why you're having this delusion, man, but come on, there's no way.
私には君の力が必要なんだ。
はい。喜んで。すごいじゃねえか、宮代。
Yep, definitely a dream.
まあ、これくらい当然だよ。
Oh my gosh.
宮代。
Wake up from your dream, buddy.
ねえ、タクったら。
Yeah.
これくらい大したこと。大したこと。
Huh?
あ、起きた。
ここ。
It was all a dream. My room. There was that dream just now? I looked at the clock. It was already well into the afternoon and approaching evening.
そうか。
I remembered now. I'd met with Arimura and Kunosato-san at Cafe Lax, and then I came back here late last night, still confused. After that, I'd gone home and did some thinking, then I did some research on the internet, finally fell asleep around sunrise, and that's why I was only getting up now.
たく、人が心配してきてやったのに、気持ちよく寝てやがるんだもんな。
えへへ。タクはのんきだね。
うわなんだお前ら
I mean, you didn't go to school today, dude. Surprised I left out of the bed.
なんだってご挨拶だな、君は。
みんなタクを心配して様子を見に来たんだよ。
心配？僕を？なんで？
You didn't show up to school. We just had a harrowing experience. Of course we were worried.
だって、ねえ、花ちゃん。
Hannah. Oh, hi. Hi.
和樹、お前まで。
It was a tiny room, but I'd only just realized that she was here a second ago. And you sound annoyed too.
ちょっとタク、そういう言い方はひどいよ。花ちゃんだってずーっと気にしてたんだから。ねえ。
That was surprising. Kazuki was worried about me that she'd come all the way out here. That is surprising, actually. I figured no matter what happened, she'd still be sitting in the club room playing ESO2.
てか大げさなんだよ。そんなに心配しなくたって。
でもよ、結構いろんなことあったろ昨日。
Yeah, tell me about it.
そうだよ。のんちゃんも気にしてたよ。
クルスが。
Of course she was.
うん。
まさか昨日のことベラベラ喋ったりしてないよな。
Uh-oh.
うん。
Uh-huh. Great. Well, at least I got a good night's rest before I got murdered. Sedeka looked confused.
もしかして話したのか？
She's like, of course I did.
例の能力のことも。
うん。
Oh no.
なんで言っちゃうんだよ。
だってのんちゃんには隠し事してもバレちゃうんだもん。
Alright, Sedeka's got a point there. And number two, she is technically part of the club. So just because you two are having some friction right now doesn't mean that, like, she wouldn't be brought into the know. It'd be like if she came out that one night and got stabbed and nobody told you about it because they didn't want to worry you. Like, that'd be stupid. You know it's stupid. Yeah, Kodashi's probably pretty sharp, and I couldn't imagine a girl like Sedeka being able to hide anything from her. I give up and fell back into bed. It's like, alright, blanket, nap time.
いけなかったかな。
Sedeka looked apologetic as she fiddled with her Garo Froggy strap.
いや、いい。話しちゃったもんは仕方がない。
By the way, I guarantee you that the game is like Chekhov's gunning that froggy squish sound. It's like something's gonna happen where that sound is gonna be the key to a scene, or like we're gonna be like hiding, not sure what to do, and then we're gonna hear that sound and we'll know that Sedeka's nearby. Like something like that's gonna. It's like it's coming up too often for it to not have a meaning later on. I feel it in my bones. Knowing Kurosushi's probably really upset now.
で、それでクルスはなんて？
ああ、私は今動けないから、代わりにあなたたちがタクのそばにいてあげてって。
Oh man. She's too good for us.
それだけか。あいつのことだから、もっといろいろ言われただろ。危険なことするなとか、能力なんてバカなとかなんとか。
そんなことなかったよ。
Maybe she knows more about this than we think.
だってあのクルスだぞ。それだけのはずないだろ。
それだけ。
だよな。
I rubbed my eyes, still sleepy. Something didn't seem right.
ああ、そうだ。昼間新庄さんから電話あったぞ。 お前が探してるスマホのことで。
Oh?
あ、
Nito slapped his hand together as if he just remembered something important. I quickly stood up, and that was one of the biggest. That was one of my biggest concerns right now.
新庄さんなんだって。
I eagerly pressed Ito for more information. Shinjo-san had said that he intended to spend the whole day getting information out of that Yamazoe Uki girl. Of course, I told him many times to ask about the phone, so he'd probably gone around and asked her.
ああ、それがな。
Oh, lovely. But the answer I got wasn't one I was expecting.
あの子は持ってない？
ああ、一度拾ったけど、すぐに元の場所へ戻したそうだ。
Yeah, and again, we have our human lie detector that's basically confirmed that that's true.
そんな言い訳、新庄さんは信じたのか？
有村が確認したんだと。嘘はついてないって。
有村が？
Which meant that she wasn't lying.
じゃあ、僕の携帯から伊藤に謎の着信があったの？
Yeah, that's something.
それも彼女は無関係だってさ。
そっか。つまり、スマホを持ち去った犯人は別にいるってことか。
And what's worse is that they are associated with the hospital still. So that does imply that there are still powers that be there. I was kind of hoping it was really abandoned just because that would make things a little easier. But that was a pretty far-fetched thing to believe in or to even hope for. Then who had the phone and that picture? And how and why they managed to use my phone to call us and threaten us?
とにかく、宮代のスマホは引き続き捜索してくれるそうだ。だからさ、とりあえず新しいのを買ったらどうだ？
タクはね、やっぱり私たちの真ん中にいる部長なんだよ。だからね、タクと連絡取れなくて困ることはいっぱいあるんだ。今日も一日中心配しちゃったし。
I mean, two things here. They got a point that it would be useful for him to have a phone, and he's clearly not making payments on the other one anyway, so it shouldn't break the bank too bad. But the second thing that's interesting about this as well is that wasn't our club supposed to be dissolved post-haste as soon as the festival is over? Where, we were only kept open until that interview? Has all the excitement about that entire incident basically wiped that away from people's minds? I would have assumed it would have made it immediately get closed.
あと、のんちゃんもタクとお話ししたいときにすごく困るって言ってた。
Yeah.
そっか。
I'm the leader. I felt kind of embarrassing, but I knew that only these guys would say something like that.
確かに今のままだと何かが起こった時にみんなと連絡を取り合うことができないな。わかった。早めに新しいスマホを手に入れるよ。
Seneca smiled happily.
で、昨日の話の続きなんだけどさ、宮代。
Oh boy, here it goes. Here comes Mio, aka was it Sina or Sei-san? Yeah,
続きってどの話の続きだ？
久野里さんの言ってた能力だよ。
Oh,
本当にありそうなのか？
I mean, there's that part of you that's also in me that would be like, if I were told that, part of my heart, despite how skeptical I am, would be like, man, I wish that were real.
ああ、それわからないな。ちょっと非科学的すぎるし。
でも最初に超能力がどうのって言い出したのは宮代じゃなかったっけ？
We've also seen evidence that this stuff's real. Giant sword appearing out of nowhere that only we could see. Argument of being able to detect lies as easily as she breathes. I mean, that's basically that's some real evidence. That's some real tangible I'm not sure how you actually dispute this.
それは
お前には見えたんだよな。有村が出した剣みたいなの。
まあ、見えるには見えたけど。
Stop fishing for excuses. Arima's sword. I think she called it a D sword. Definitely looked real.
そいつが見えたってことは、やっぱお前は能力者ってことだろ？久野里さんもそう言ってたし。
Apparently, but it's not like I know what to do with that.
伊藤、相変わらず久野里さんの言うことは信用するんだな。あれだけひどい目に遭わされたのに。
She treated him pretty badly in the basement of the hospital. Maybe he was into that?
おいおい、なんだよその目は。俺は別にそういう趣味はねえぞ。
Alright, sure.
いや、そういえばお前、クルスを怒らせるようなこともよく言うよな。あれもわざとじゃ。
Oh my gosh.
うわぁ、しんちゃんって変態さんだったんだね。
All of us are in our hearts, but I understand we're kind of calling him out here.
やめろよお前ら。んなことより宮代の能力の話をしてんだ今は。
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think we got him. Ito dragged us back into the original topic. That was definitely suspicious.
いや、能力とか言われたって、自分の意思で使えたことなんてないしさ。ラブホテルとか病院の地下とか、鍵を開けたのは僕の能力だって、有村や久野里さんは言ってたけど、半信半疑なんだよ。
I mean, it sounds like a small, like it's not small term, but small scale power, but it's very useful. I imagine that even if you could only move stuff that like with the strength that one could with like their own hand, there's a lot you could do with that. Like if you were just clever and thinking things through and had like the skill to do it. The door in the hotel room might not have even been locked to begin with, and the others might have all been coincidences, right?
ちゃんと試してみたのか？
試す？
お、だってさ、やってみなきゃ使えるかどうかわかんねえだろ？
The trouble is, Ito, like, I don't even know how. Like, what muscle are you supposed to flex? Okay, I have talked about this, though. Have I? Okay, I know it's come up before, but I guess I'll do a quick tangent here, because I do think it's worth talking about, because it's so relatable to this. I've had okay, so I have very vivid dreams. I dream all the time, and sometimes I have lucid dreams. Most of the time, I would call semi-lucid, where if things are getting really stressful in the dream, I can usually kind of force it to change or even force myself awake without it getting too intense. So I don't really get nightmares because I can kind of walk my way out of them if they start up. But I have very, very, very vivid dreams. Like I see in full color. I hear lots of complicated sounds. I have a sense of touch. Like I've had like feelings of gravity or weightlessness in my dreams before. Now granted, I've never had true weightlessness, so I'm not sure how accurate it was, but it certainly felt like how I would imagine it would feel, which is fair because that's literally what my brain is doing at the time. Regardless, very vivid dreamer. I have a recurring dream where I have a power. And it's really interesting because of how detailed the story is. The power itself is pretty fun. I imagine it was inspired like subconsciously by, what is it, the subtle knife. So it's like the golden compass, the amber spyglass, and the subtle knife, like that trilogy of books. But much like that kind of knife, I had the ability to cut holes in reality, but it was like a portal system. All I would remember is I would have to focus really hard, and I would kind of move my hands through the air, and eventually I would hit like a resistance, almost like I was finding like a piece of invisible thread that my hand would catch on, and then I would, by continuing to focus and slowly pulling my hand, like it would take a lot of force. I remember in the dream I would have to grab my wrist like this and kind of force my hand down in like a chopping motion, and it would open this tear to the destination I was picturing. And that was like my power. And like the dreams often involved like some kind of mix between Hogwarts and X-Men type of stories and things. It's a great dream, and it happens regularly. Like, well, maybe like once or twice a year kind of thing. I have a lot of those types of recurring dreams as well, where I'll have almost like a narrative that I either constantly replay over the course of the years or slowly like expand on. Again, my dreams are awesome. I'm very lucky to have the dreams I have. But the idea that stuck with me so much about that dream that I find is so fascinating, as I always remember in the dream that there's a part of the brain I almost had to focus on. Like some part inside, and it almost felt like pulling a muscle. Like you had to think, but you had to think in this really abstract way that gave me like a slight headache every time I would do it, but it would let me access the ability. And you had to do it in a certain way. It's a concept that's kind of a fun idea. And I wonder if that's kind of what a Gigalomaniac would be like in this universe, is that like he's doing it passively and subconsciously because his subconscious mind is much more aware of what it's capable of, but consciously he's going to have to flex that mental muscle to make it work.
コツさえつかめば案外できるかもしれないもんね。
Even the normally disinterested Kazuki was staring at me with curiosity. It was rare to see her like this. I mean, was she also brought up to speed? Although, now that I think about it, if there's anybody here who might have Gigalomaniac powers who could also, like, have realized they have Gigalomaniac powers, Kazuki would be the one I would guess. She's so quiet and doesn't say much. She could easily be like, oh yeah, I've known about this for years. And if we go, but you're like, what are you talking about? Why did you say anything? She's like, I don't know. I didn't think it would, it just never came up. Maybe she was interested in psychic powers or the occult.
そうだな。
それともタク、一人で試してみたりした？それでダメだったとか？だったらしょうがないけど。
違うよ。僕がそんな馬鹿げたこと一人でやるわけないだろ。
Why would it be stupid? I lied. Actually, last night I tried it and it hadn't worked.
じゃあやってみようよ。ね？いいじゃん。減るもんでもないし。
She's right. It's not going to hurt you, probably. And then the other thing, too, is like, I mean, who wouldn't? Like, if you were told from a very convincing source that you had psychic powers, and that you then watched somebody else who also had psychic powers perform those psychic powers, I also probably wouldn't be able to sleep, but I would have been being like a Jedi, been like, move!
けど、やるったってどうすれば。
やっぱ強く念じるとかじゃね？
Brilliant. I tried that and it didn't work.
ほらほら、タク！念じて念じて！
念じるって何よ？
そうだな。例えば、ほら、そこにある本を動かしてみるとか。
Oh, we're actually going to have a repeat of that attempt. The other thing, too, is like, I understand it would be difficult to think of it like this, but I would be trying to approach similar problems to what we apparently solved with the powers, which is unlocking doors. I would start with that. And, like, I imagine a part of it also has to do with anxiety, unfortunately. So, especially because we know Gigalomaniac powers tend to be strongly tied to emotions. So, it could be very difficult to replicate or artificially activate. And now, this was just like my dream.
わかったよ。やるよ。やってみる。けど、期待はするなよ。
大丈夫、大丈夫。
Watch, it actually goes spectacularly. It throws the book in our face.
5本。それでは挑戦していただきましょう。宮代拓郎くんです。パチパチパチ。
Okay, first of all, why are you declaring the circus act? And also, I do absolutely love the onomatopoeia pachi pachi pachi. I think that's very cute. Suddenly, Seneca stood up straight, gave me an introduction, and a round of applause. I had no choice but to stand in front of the books and get ready. I raised both hands slowly and concentrated. Oh! Try a Kamehameha. Maybe that'll help. Nothing's gonna happen. I struck my hands out quickly. And then, the pages of the book slowly started to do nothing.
やっぱ動かないね。
だろう。 だからできないって言ったんだよ。
I mean, 2 points here. Number 1, clearly put his heart and soul into that attempt. That's something. Number 2, dude, you must be real out of shape. I am pretty fluffy and out of shape myself, but I'm pretty sure waving my hands at a book and yelling with my, yelling out of like the belly of my, out of my belly, I don't think I would have been winded.
チェなんだつまんねえの。
I know, right? Oh, she's done. She's angry. She's punching the wall.
こら、カズキ、人んちの壁を殴るな。
でもよかったね、タク。
Why? Seneca opened one of my mountain views and smiled. I hadn't seen her take it in front of the refrigerator.
あ、俺にも一本。
Seneca handed Ito the plastic bottle she was holding and then took out 2 more from the fridge. She gave one to Kazuki.
おい、お前ら、人のものを勝手に。後で金払ってもらうからな。
Also, again, just highlighting the fact this is the cushiest, most relaxed homelessness I've ever seen.
なんだよ、ケチくせえな。
一人暮らしは何かと金がかかるんだよ。てか、尾上、僕にも一本。
That was 4 bottles in total. I'd have to go buy a new pack. Oh,
Thank you.
woe is me.
で、何がいいんだよ。さっき言ったろ。よかったねって。
ああ、うん。だってさ、
Yeah?
もしもタクにそんな能力があったら、命を狙われるかもしれないってことでしょ？
That's a fair deduction, actually. I mean, we've known the connections there, but now it's actualized.
あ、
Doesn't that mean Arimura might be the next target, actually?
命を狙われる？
Oh, so we're just gonna transition from that? We're not gonna have that discussion, huh? After everyone left, Seneca's words repeated again and again in my mind.
もしもタクにそんな能力があったら、命を狙われるかもしれないってことでしょ？
There was a chance all the victims of these murders, that they were now calling the return to the new gen madness, had psychic powers. That was the conclusion I'd reached as well. If I had the power that Kunosato-san and Arimura said I did, I could become a victim too. And Arimura had told me. I think she's in danger.
あなた、殺されますよ。宮代拓先輩。
So how does she know that? I think if there's anyone who's going to be next, it's her.
僕が。
What the hell is going on? Normally, I'd be excited that my theory about psychic powers had been proven correct. But instead, why did I have to start worrying that they'd come after me?
どう考えたっておかしいだろ。
I mean, it kind of does. If they're hunting people with these powers, and you have powers, that seems their criteria. That's the serial nature to these crimes. For one thing, I couldn't use any psychic powers. See, I tried. Nothing moved. I focused and nothing started floating. I knew for a fact I didn't have any power, so even if other people said I did. But what if? What if the killers mistakenly thought I did, the same way Arimura and Kunosato-san did? In that case, even if they're wrong, my life would still be in danger. Also, bro, you're real quick to try and dismiss this as a figment just because you tried one time and it didn't work.
冗談じゃない。そんなバカなことって。
Oh no. What was that sound? The door? Again. Was someone here? It better not start doing the creepy knock or we're literally gonna die. But the others had just left and there's no one else who would come here. No way. Could it be someone who wanted to kill me?
おい。嘘だろ。
That's not a good start. You've got to be kidding me. I can't use them. I don't have any powers.
やだ。来るな。来るな。
It's not the same pattern.
違う。僕は超能力者なんかじゃない。違うんだ。
But despite my pleas, the door slowly opened. I thought so.
なんだ騒がしいな。どうしたんだ
But who are you? You're somebody. What is your deal, man?
ケンさん。
お、タク。要は、ただいま帰ったぞ。
なんだよ。驚かさないでよ。
I staggered back and sat down on the bed.
せっかく例のもの持ってきてやったってのに。さては、女子かと思って期待しておったね。
Sure. And I'm guessing you brought magazines, right?
そんなんじゃないよ。
まあまあ、お前くらいの年なら誰でもあるこった。ってわけで、ほれ。
Jensen tossed me an issue of Cool Cat Press and snuck out his hand. To be honest, I didn't feel like it, but...
500円でいいの？
毎度あり。これで今日もうまいビールが飲めるってな。
少しは貯金とかしたら。
ばっか野郎。男は酔い越しの金は持たねえってな。
I would die of stress if I was ever in that position, unfortunately.
いいかタク。お前も男ならケチケチすんじゃねえぞ。じゃないと女子には。
So you have quite the conquest? You got ladies just crawling all over you?
わかったわかった。今日はもう帰って。
男ならとこら。
Who are you? I pushed Jensen out of my room and shut the door. The room became strangely silent once more. That was a poem. The occasional passing of a train seemed exceptionally loud, but when it was gone, the silence returned. It's too quiet. Shibuya Station was very close, but once you get even a little bit further away from it, it became like this. Normally, I love the silence, but today it felt lonely. Don't look. Audio bleed, revolving dead. And now, Sumorbidly Obese. Sumorbidly Obese. They all had stupid names, but they were all brutal murders. And...
もしもタクにそんな能力があったら、命を狙われるかもしれないってことでしょ？
I can't believe they didn't talk about that more, because that's a great point.
くそ。冗談じゃない。
I flipped open the new Cool Cat Press to take my mind off it. The page read, "Polish your hidden talents and make girls love you." Oh my gosh. October 12th, 2015, Monday. We might stop here, though. Aww.
はい、終わり。
Okay, we are going to stop here, but it's just barely. It's just kind of one of those things where it's a kind of a good time to stop, but the chapter's just barely getting the ball rolling. But I do wonder, because we know her childhood friend with the pink hair is going a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and it seems like they've been building towards her making a move, and I worry that that move's going to be against Kurusu. So that sounds horrible. That sounds terrifying. But we'll leave that for now. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for joining me for Chaoschild. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Definitely had a little bit of rambling. Definitely was basically a lot of exposition today, but I feel like it's good. It sets a good pace. It sets up what's coming in the future. And I think it's like, if you didn't like that, you wouldn't be watching this channel. We get so into the sticks with stuff. It makes sense. So I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for showing your support and being willing to be part of everything. And also thank you all for just being wonderful. I do have another trip coming up. This one is a family one. It was initially going to just be a couple days, but I've extended it because it's an opportunity to catch up with family and friends I haven't seen in about 8 years. So I'm going to take that opportunity, but it means I'm definitely taking at least a week off from making videos because I won't be at my studio. Which, I mean, technically, could I record not at my studio? Yeah, but it would be terrible. Like, it would not be even watchable. Especially because I'd have to somehow get the game to play on a different device, which I know is possible, but I don't think I have any devices that are A, travel size, and B, capable of doing that. So despite the fact they're visual novels, it's just not going to happen. So we'll have to wait for that. But hopefully I'll be able to make some early recording, but the problem with that is I just don't have that time. I'm working pretty solid now, which is great, but it means I don't have a luxury of a lot of free time, and that free time I do have, I try and spend in certain activities that I find very gratifying, edifying, that are creative based, or that are, doing stuff with friends. And so I'm not going to sacrifice that stuff just to continue making more videos, because I don't want my entire free time just being content on YouTube. Like, I have to have more than just this hobby, though I do love making videos so much. But anyway, yeah, sorry, I rambled on a little bit. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you to the patrons and members especially. You're amazing. But anyone who's still here watching and listening, I don't deserve you. Thank you so much. So until the next video, you're watching me. I hope to see me in next. I'll see you there.